Hey guys, tonight we drift far, far back, so far that even your most dramatic childhood imagination would probably give up halfway and say, yeah, no thanks, that's too much darkness. You find yourself floating in a space where there isn't even space yet. No stars, no planets, no cozy little Earth, not even that questionable midnight snack you regret from last night. Just a soft, endless nothing, so quiet that you start hearing your own thoughts bouncing around like they've finally been given a stage. You're suspended in what the ancient Greeks called chaos, not chaos like messy room chaos, but more like a blank loading screen of the universe. You can almost reach out and feel the nothingness stretching in every direction. It's oddly soothing, but also the kind of place where you think, yeah, you probably won't survive this, even though nothing here could hurt you, because nothing exists yet. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you're awake enough, tell me in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is at your place. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You drift slightly forward, whatever counts as forward, when directions haven't been invented and something begins to stir. A faint shimmer. Like someone turned on a single pixel in the universe. From this pixel, shapes begin forming, slow and syrupy, as if time itself is learning how to move. This is where the first gods emerge. Not dramatic thunderbolt gods yet. These early beings are more like cosmic forces wearing loose, half-finished forms. The kind that make you blink twice and say, is that a face, or a mountain, or both? The first to form is Gaia, the Earth Mother. Except right now, she's not fully Earth yet. She's more like a warm, grounding presence, thickening under your feet. Her shape stretches across the void, turning the blankness into something with texture. You feel the world under you before the world even exists, like stepping on a memory before it's been created. A mainstream historical fact reminds you that many ancient cultures personified the earth as a mother goddess. Greeks weren't unique in this, but their version, she comes with a bit more dramatic flair. Beside her, rising like a dome being inflated, is Uranus, the sky. Not a dad bod sky, an actual sky, stretching above her, settling into place like someone finally pulled the cosmic bedsheet tight. He leans down too close, almost smothering her with his presence, already hinting at his controlling behavior later. You feel the air tighten, and you instinctively shift, giving Gaia some breathing room she isn't quite getting. Next comes Tartarus, forming down below a deep, shadowed pit. Not evil, just extremely committed to being unsettling. If you peer down, the darkness almost waves at you, like, come on in. The existential dread is fine, and since this is a sleepy story, you politely decline. From the edges of chaos, another presence flickers in Eros, a soft force of attraction. Not Cupid with the baby wings, but a shimmering pull that gently tugs everything closer, so creation can actually happen. You feel the warmth, like someone nudging you at a family gathering. Go on, be social, make a universe. A quirky tidbit floats into your mind. Some ancient writers claimed that Eros hatched from a cosmic egg. Yes, an egg. You can imagine the universe cracking open like a breakfast special. Historians still argue whether this egg story predates or follows the chaos version, but tonight, you're just drifting with the flow. Around you, shapes begin, layering mountains, valleys, invisible frameworks, where future gods will lounge, fight, complain, and occasionally act like they have never heard of therapy. You glide past Gaia as she stretches, testing her boundaries, creating ridges that will one day become mountain ranges. It's comforting, in a slow, ASMR sort of way, like she's kneading the dough of reality. Uranus lowers himself again, and you can sense the tension immediately. He's beautiful, immense, and absolutely terrible at respecting personal space. You watch Gaia sigh, the kind of sigh that says, here we go again. There's no storm yet, no drama, just that early discomfort of two cosmic forces learning to share the same universe. You float closer to chaos itself, the leftover void in the corners. It clings to you like cool mist, a reminder that creation is still happening. You run your fingers metaphorically through it, and it parts like smoke. If you listen carefully, you can almost hear ancient storytellers whispering their earliest myths, trying to make sense of a world that felt unpredictable and enormous. As you drift, more entities flicker in and out. Night Nyx forms with a soft, velvety presence, and Day Hemra follows with a gentle glow. They pass each other like roommates whose shifts never overlap. You give them a polite nod, though Night gives you a look like she knows all your secrets, even the embarrassing one. Another mainstream fact surfaces in your mind. Greek cosmogony wasn't written in one day or by one author. It evolved over centuries, picked apart, retold, debated. Historians still argue whether Hesiod's version was meant as literal belief, poetic metaphor, or just a very dramatic bedtime story. Considering you're using it as a bedtime story right now, maybe he'd be honored. Meanwhile, Gaia continues shaping herself. You glide over a rising slope and think, oh look, the first hill. A moment later, you drift into a low valley and think, first dip. It's like watching a creative toddler play with cosmic clay. You half expect someone to announce, welcome to soft launch Earth. Then, from far above, Uranus darkens slightly, forming the first hint of a starless sky ceiling. He stretches, creating distance, pulling himself into a dome. One light joke slips into your thoughts. He looks like someone performing yoga for the first time, insisting he's doing it perfectly, while everyone else slowly backs away. You hover beside Gaia as she gazes upward. There's no dialogue, just a feeling, a kind of resignation mixed with patience. You sense that she's preparing for something big, larger being, larger responsibilities, perhaps even larger problems. Chaos shifts behind you like a curtain being pulled back, as if saying, good luck, the real show's coming, and you can feel it. The story hasn't even started yet. The universe is barely done unpacking. You take a slow breath, letting the emptiness settle into something strangely peaceful. Creation is messy. Creation is quiet. Creation is the space between two breaths, the moment before things get interesting. And as you float there, you realize you re-ready for whatever comes next, because the gods are only just beginning to wake up. You glide gently along the forming edges of early existence, letting the soft rumble beneath you settle into something familiar, that grounding sensation you feel. That's Gaia, slowly becoming Earthnaut, with sudden explosions or CGI convenience, but with the patient, sleepy determination of someone quietly rearranging the furniture at 3 a.m. because it else feel better this way. And honestly, she's right. You move closer, and the surface beneath your feet becomes more tangible. One moment, it's like walking on fog. The next, it thickens into soil, warm and humming, as if it recognizes you. It's strange, but comforting, like standing on the chest of a giant who rises and falls with ancient, slow breaths. Gaia stretches out beneath everything, forming not just the ground, but the feeling of ground. You can sense her awareness, not in words, but in steady, maternal presence. A mainstream historical fact comes drifting through your sleepy mind. The Greeks weren't alone in treating Earth as a goddess. Many ancient cultures, from Mesopotamia to early Asia Minor, imagined the world as a living being, but the Greeks, they gave Gaia layers of personality, quiet sparks of irritation, stubborn patience, and a sense of humor so dry you might mistake it for desert sand. As Gaia grows solid, she creates mountains, pushing upward like gentle bumps beneath a blanket. You watch one form beneath your feet. It rises slowly, so slowly you don't notice it until you realize you're standing higher than before. No sudden violence, just a gradual uplift, the way bread rises if you forget about it long enough. The slope beneath you feels warm, like sunlight that hasn't been invented yet. Gaia keeps forming shapes, her presence rippling outward. Valleys dip softly, ocean basins curve inward, Dry plains stretch out like smooth, unfinished sketches. It's more ASMR than creation myth, more brushing sounds and soft tapping than thunder crashes. If someone handed her a cosmic paintbrush, she'd still draw in long, slow strokes that make you drift toward sleep. Above her, Uranus, the sky spreads further, settling into place with a faint shimmer. He leans down, probably trying to look majestic, but ends up giving pushy landlord vibes instead. Gaia sighs internally. You don't hear it, you feel it through the ground. It's the sigh of every mom who knows the chores will never end, even when the universe is brand new. Historians still argue whether Gaia and Uranus were meant to be literal entities or symbolic representations of natural forces. Tonight, though, you get the best of both worlds. They're present, real, and dramatic enough to keep you awake, just barely before gently nudging you back toward sleep. You drift along a plane that Gaia has just finished smoothing out. She seems proud of it. A quirky tidbit pops into your head. Some fringe versions of the myth claim that Gaia created the first mountains, not out of necessity, but out of boredom. She was alone in a quiet universe with nothing but her thoughts, so she sculpted landscapes to entertain herself, the way you doodle in the margins of your notebook when the lecture gets too long. Honestly, respect. You walk forward, and textures beneath your feet shift grainy, then soft, then rocky. Gaia is experimenting, trying things, testing how reality feels. You imagine her musing, too pointy, as she flattens a ridge, or needs pizzazz, as she lifts a cliff a little higher. And all around her, the universe remains silent. No birds, no wind, no awkward background noises, like the kind you swear you didn't make during a Zoom call. Just Gaia and her slow, meditative shaping. As you wander, you sense a deeper vibration. Gaia is preparing for something, or someone. She knows she won't be alone forever. Creation works best in company, after all. And while Uranus looms above, offering more pressure than partnership, she continues her quiet work with steady resolve. You run your fingertips along a rising hill and feel the subtle heartbeat of a world that is still learning to be a world. In the distance, the first hints of forests shimmer, not yet grown, but gently implied. Rivers murmur beneath the surface, like dreams waiting to surface. Gaia is building the blueprint for everything you'll ever stand on, walk through, or complain about when it rains on your day off. She's patient. You feel that in every step. This isn't a goddess who rushes. She's the long, slow inhale before the universe exhales life. She's the steady warmth of ground after sunset. She's the reason you sometimes put your hand on the earth and feel grounded without knowing why. You wander farther, letting the landscape cradle you in its early, unfinished state. Gaia's presence spreads outward, wrapping around all creation like a soft blanket. And even though she soon face conflictedly, sense her resilience already. Not loud, not sharp, just enduring. A humor hums through the moment, soft as a sleepy smile. If Gaia ever had a catchphrase, it would probably be, "Fine, I'll do it myself." And honestly, she already is. The sky above lowers slightly again, and Gaia shifts underneath you, bracing. Tension forms like a small knot in the air, not hostile, but undeniable. You can feel the earliest hint of the drama to come, tiny seeds of mythic conflict planted deep in the soil. But for now, the world is calm, slow, sleepy. Everything unfolds at the pace of a long exhale, and you drift with it, letting Gaia's soft, grounding presence carry you deeper into the story. You continue drifting over Gaia's growing form, feeling the land beneath you thicken and settle, as if the world is finally deciding what shape it wants to take. But above you, the sky shifts broad, heavy, and always just a little too close. Uranus stretches downward, pressing himself along Gaia's surface, and the what little air exists tightens. It's like being trapped under a blanket that refuses to lift, no matter how many polite hints you drop. You glance upward. Uranus is vast, shimmering, almost beautiful in that way distant storms are beautiful, grand, mesmerizing, and slightly threatening. But his presence leans, and keeps leaning. You imagine him whispering, "I'm not too close," in the tone of someone clearly too close. Gaia doesn't T-roll her eyes, she est too dignified for that. But you can feel the internal sigh travel through the soil, up your legs and into your spine. This is the early universe's first uncomfortable relationship dynamic, and you're standing right in the middle of it. A mainstream historical fact drifts into your awareness. Greek mythology often uses bodily metaphors to explain natural phenomena. Earth as mother, sky as father, mountains as children. But unlike some other myth systems, where sky and earth are harmonious partners, the Greeks leaned straight into tension. Their cosmos starts with conflict that builds slowly, like a pressure cooker, with no timer. You keep walking, and you feel that pressure, literally. Uranus settles heavier, flattening a newly formed ridge Gaia just sculpted. The mountain slumps back down like a disappointed soufflé. If Gaia had visible facial features, she'd be giving him the really look every overworked parent has mastered. Here, a quirky tidbit. Some fringe mythographers claimed Uranus wasn't just the sky, but also the stars, which means he might have been showing off, early flattening Gaia. Not because he wanted control, but because he needed extra surface area to display his cosmic glitter. Whether or not that's true, you can sense he enjoys towering over everything a little too much. Historians still argue whether Uranus's smothering behavior symbolized early Greek anxieties about natural disasters, or just the universal struggle of children trying to grow while parents hover. Either way, you're watching that tension form in real time, and it's oddly soothing in the way slow-moving storms can be. Predictable, rhythmic, heavy in a sleepy, hypnotic way. Gaia shifts slightly, raising a distant hill in protest. Uranus pushes back down. You step away as the land dips beneath your feet. Not dramatically, just enough to make you wobble like someone trying to navigate a moving bus. The universe is clearly still figuring out physics. You wander toward a newly formed plane where Gaia's energy feels softer. She seems tired, not physically, but cosmically tired. Imagine being the only stable surface in the entire universe and having someone hover over you non-stop. You'd be tired too. And yet she continues, shaping the world, smoothing edges, lifting terrain, creating space for futures that don't yet exist. You feel a pulse under your feet. Gaia has ideas, big ones. She wants room for life, for rivers, for mountains that actually get to be mountains. But Uranus keeps pressing everything flat, as if he wants a neat, wrinkle-free universe. You picture him handing out cosmic ironing instructions. No peaks, no bumps. Keep it smooth, please. It's unintentionally hilarious. You sit for a moment on a half-formed rise, feeling the rumble of creation beneath you. The ground is warm, humming, almost like a purring catif. The cat were the size of a planet, and carried the emotional weight of a goddess dealing with a clingy celestial spouse. You pat the ground gently, as if to say, "You're doing great, sweetie," and Gaia responds with the faintest upward push under your palm. Above, Uranus flickers with irritation. You can't hear him, but you feel the mood shift. The sky grows darker, density increasing. He wants full control over the world below. He wants his children, those Gaia is preparing to create, to remain hidden inside her. His logic is foggy, like someone insisting on keeping their new shoes in the box so they never get dirty. You continue onward, letting the landscape cradle your steps. Gaia is swelling slowly with potential life. Uranus' shadow thickens in response. The tension between them is now a constant hum. A small joke bubbles up in your thoughts. You're basically third-wheeling the universe right now, and neither party notices. As you drift farther, you feel Gaia's determination simmer. It's not rebellion, yet just the quiet awareness of someone who knows this can continue forever. She's powerful, but she's patient. She's waiting for the right moment, the right help. She senses that change is coming. She's preparing for it. The air vibrates softly, a low hum that puts your thoughts on a slower track, almost lulling you. The conflict is building, but not urgently. It rises the way deep ocean tides rise steady, inevitable. rhythmic. You close your eyes briefly and feel both forces pressing around you. Gaia's grounded warmth beneath Uranus's oppressive dome above. This early universe is simple, but not peaceful. It's the kind of place where the silence carries stories, where tension hums like background statics, so soft it makes your eyelids heavy. And the truth is, you not just watching the earliest drama of Greek mythology, you standing in the pause before the first cosmic rebellion. The air thickens, the ground tightens, the sky presses closer, but Gaia, patient and powerful, is done being polite. You take another steady breath, letting the tension settle into something strangely soothing. The next shift in the cosmos is coming, and you're already feeling the first tremors of it under your feet. You feel the shifting long before you see anything. A low, restless vibration pulses through the ground. Gaia's quiet exhaustion turning into something sharper, something she's been swallowing for too long. You stand still, letting the tremor rise through your ankle like a whispered warning. Things are about to change. Not explosively, nothing in this sleepy cosmos rushes but steadily, with the determination of someone who has reached their limit, one slow sigh at a time. Gaia's presence beneath you grows heavier, denser, as if she's gathering her strength. She shaped mountains, carved valleys, softened plains, all while Uranus has pressed down relentlessly from above. The sky hovers low, dimming the faint new colors of the world, wrapping everything in a suffocating dome. You look up, and Uranus stares back, not with eyes, but with sheer, overwhelming presence. He's vast, glittering faintly now, with early, unformed stars, and absolutely convinced that his way is the only way. Gaia finally exhales, not a breeze, not a wind, just a deep shift in the layers of earth beneath your feet. You can tell she's done waiting. Something is stirring inside her, and this time, she's not going to smooth it out or politely tolerate it. A mainstream historical fact drifts through your mind, soft but sure, in Hesiod's Theogony. Gaia births the first generation of gods, the Titans, without Uranus's permission or assistance. She creates them from her own being, shaping them with patient, deliberate intention. And you feel that intention now, like the universe's first heartbeat, thudding beneath the soil. You step forward carefully, because the ground isn't just ground anymore, it's pregnant with possibility. A warm swell rises, and Gaia channels her power upward. Slowly, as if emerging from deep sleep, the first Titan form. Oceanus is the first you sense. He unfurls like a liquid horizon, vast and calm, stretching across the edges of Gaia's body. His energy ripples outward, swirling around your ankles, like a tide greeting the shore for the first time. If you squint, you can almost see the shape of a face in the waves, bearded, wise, and thoroughly unimpressed, with Uranus blocking the view above him. Next, Kuz emerges, sharp, thoughtful, a quiet spark of cosmic intelligence. He rises like a pillar of light that hums with potential ideas. The universe's first philosopher, jotting mental notes before pens exist. Then comes Cryas, shoulders broad, posture firm, carrying the heavy aura of direction and cycles. He moves like someone who already knows where the stars should go. Hyperion, bright and burning at the edges, stretches upward like dawn itself, learning how to glow. Touching him feels like brushing your fingers across the world's very first sunrise, gentle, warm, but hinting at the fire to come. Iapetus, solid and contemplative, emerges with the weight of mortality and craftsmanship clinging to him. There's something in his stance that suggests he L-shaped destiny in ways no one expects. And then, the last and most important of Gaia's sons. For this moment, Cronus. You feel him before you see him. A slow, steady rumble, like the earth grinding its teeth. Cronus rises tall and lean, his form shadowed at the edges, his presence patient but sharp. Unlike his brothers, he doesn't stretch or glow or ripple. He watches. He assesses. He listens to Gaia's trembling pulse. Gaia doesn't speak aloud, but the message reverberates through every grain of soil. I need your help. A quirky tidbit slips into your thoughts. Some fringe versions of the myth claim Cronus emerged with a sickle already in hand, like a newborn overachiever. Others say Gaia crafted it later. Either way, the symbolism is the same. He's the one willing to act. Historians still argue whether Cronus was meant to be a hero, a villain, or something in between, a necessary force, shaped by a universe that demanded rebellion. But standing here now, you can sense he's not wicked. He's simply decisive, in a world where everyone else hesitates. Cronus lifts his gaze to the sky, his father and Uranus lowers ever so slightly. A massive presence responding with suspicion. The tension between them crackles faintly, like static whispering at the edge of your ear. Gaia rises around Cronus in a soft mound, almost like a protective embrace. Her message deepens. I cannot grow. My children cannot breathe. You must help me push him back. You shift, feeling the weight of the moment. Cronus stands straighter. He's not the strongest titan, nor the brightest, but he is the one with the sharpened stillness, the kind of resolve you only see in someone who carries a quiet storm inside. He steps closer to Gaia's surface, listening to her pulse beneath him. Uranus presses down again, flattening a distant hill with casual arrogance. Cronus doesn't flinch. His expression, a mix of patience and cold determination, tells you everything you need to know. The universe is about to experience its first act of defiance. But not yet. The moment is forming slowly, like a tide that hasn't reached the shore, but knows exactly where it's going. You take a breath and let the tension cradle you. The earth hums beneath, the sky tightens above. The titans stand silent and waiting, newborn gods learning the weight of existence. And Cronus, calm as a stone, curls his fingers around the promise of change. The cosmos holds its breath. You feel the pause before it happens, the universe holding tension like a string pulled taut. Cronus stands quietly at Gaia's surface, his shadow stretching across the newborn land. Around him, the other titans linger in a solemn ring, each sensing the shift that's coming, each pretending they're not Loki. Relieved Cronus is the one their mother chose for this assignment, because honestly, confronting the sky is not on anyone's dream to-do list. Gaia rises slightly beneath your feet, warm and firm. She's resolute now, her patience hardened into purpose. The air thrums with her silent words, and even though you can't hear her, you understand the message perfectly. We have to make space. We have to grow. She nudges Cronus with her presence, not pushy, just a gentle cosmic suggestion no child could refuse. Cronus lowers his head, acknowledging her, and you feel an odd flicker of sympathy for him. He didn't ask to be the universe's first revolutionary. He didn't ask to be born into family conflict before family dinners even existed. He's just here, and Gaia is depending on him. You wander closer, your steps slow and soft, careful not to disturb the fragile balance forming around the moment. A shallow groove opens in the earth near you, and Gaia begins shaping something with deliberate precision. The soil compacts, smoothing and sharpening as if guided by unseen fingers. Metal glints through cracks in the ground draw, unrefined, primal. She is forging a sickle. A mainstream historical fact nudges your thoughts in ancient Greek art. Cronus is almost always depicted with a curved blade or harp or scythe-like weapon symbolizing time's sharp, unyielding cut. But this is no ordinary tool. This is Gaia's gift, formed from her own body, shaped with the intention of rewriting the cosmic hierarchy. The sickle rises, shimmering faintly. Its curve is elegant, deadly, and strangely beautiful, like the crescent of a moon that hasn't been invented yet. Cronus takes it gently. He doesn't swing it. He doesn't test the weight. He just holds it, understanding its purpose, the way you understand the weight of a late-night decision. Heavy, necessary, irreversible. Meanwhile, Uranus looms above, blissfully unaware, or perhaps arrogantly unconcerned. He presses his luminous body closer, forcing Gaia's newly built ridges and hills to flatten again. A mountain you admired moments ago sinks like a tired pillow. Uranus seems proud of this. If he had eyebrows, they'd be raised smugly. Gaia tightens beneath your feet, sending a tired, irritated pulse through the ground. She has had enough. Cronus steps forward, and something shifts inside him. You can feel it. The calm neutrality he carried before cracks open, revealing a subtle edge fear, resolve, and maybe a tiny pinch of someone has to do it. He positions himself below the lowest edge of Uranus's vast expanse, the world still. A quirky tidbit floats through your mind, light as a feather. In some fringe versions of the myth, Gaia staged this whole plan like a heist movie, complete with whispered instructions and a dramatic wait for my signal. You can almost picture it, Gaia pulling Cronus aside, handing him the sickle, saying "be cool," while the other titans pretend they're not eavesdropping. It's absurd, comforting, and very on brand for early cosmic drama. Historians still argue whether Cronus acted out of duty, ambition, or resentment, built from being buried beneath the sky. No one agrees, and honestly, Cronus probably didn't either. He is the original example of someone doing something monumental before fully thinking through the consequences. You feel the universe pull tighter around you, the air compressing like a held breath. Cronus crouches slightly, lifting the sickle. His grip doesn't tremble. The sky lowers, dense and unyielding. Gaia's energy surges, not violent, not explosive, just a firm push of encouragement. Cronus rises in a swift, decisive motion. You don't see the moment. It's not sharp or graphic. It's more like a cosmic snap, a shift in pressure, the sensation you get when a thunderstorm breaks open after hours of heavy, humid air. A clean, vast release. The sky recoils upward, startled and wounded, lifting away from the earth for the first time. The world expands. Space appears where there was none. Air moves thin, new, uncertain, but free. Uranus pulls back, retreating into the higher reaches of existence, his shimmering form trembling with shock. His dominance fractures like cracked glass, scattering starlight that hasn't settled into constellations yet. The separation of earth and sky, one of the oldest motifs in world mythology, folds beneath your feet, slow and monumental, like continents drifting apart in real time. Gaia exhales, a deep, grounding release that rolls through valleys, across plains, and into your bones. You feel her relief, her newfound room to breathe. Her ridges lift again, this time unopposed. The mountains rise and stay risen. Rivers form without being crushed. The world begins to grow. Cronus stands still, holding the sickle. His expression is unreadable, some blend of triumph and the dawning realization that nothing this big comes without consequences. You almost want to pat him on the shoulder and say, "Buddy, you have no idea what's coming," but you decide not to meddle in divine family dynamics. Good choice. The other titans shift uncertainly. Some step forward, curious. Others hold back, sensing the gravity of what just happened. Oceanus's waves hiss softly as he withdraws to the edges, not wanting to get involved. Hyperion glows brighter, fascinated by the new open sky. Kuz whispers thoughts that sound like the universe's first philosophical questions. Cronus, though, he steps onto the widened land, testing the space his action created. He has power now, kind of power the cosmos hasn't seen before. But he also carries a shadow, a consequence Gaia hasn't yet revealed. The world reorganizes around this new order. Light thins, the air cools, and Gaia steadies herself. Above, Uranus retreats further, smoldering with wounded pride. Everything is different now. Everything is shifting. And you, standing quietly on Gaia's surface, feel the weight of what Cronus has just set into motion, a cycle of power, fear, and destiny that will ripple through every god and mortal who comes after. The sickle gleams once more in Cronus's hand. The cosmos breathes. You drift farther along the winding footpath of myths, and now the air around you seems to thicken with something older, something far heavier than the bright pettiness of the Olympian gossip you passed earlier. You feel it before you understand it, this strange sense of being watched by 1,000 stories at once. Every one of them older than memory, yet somehow still humming beneath the surface of your own thoughts. Without meaning to, You slow your pace. Even your footsteps sound quieter, like they're trying not to disturb whatever lies ahead. Because here, you reach the primordial echoes, the corner of Greek mythology, where the universe itself clears its throat before speaking. You find yourself walking through an endless, dim grayness, as if dawn hasn't quite decided whether it wants to exist. The atmosphere is thick, not unpleasantly, but in a way that makes you feel like you're moving inside a dream you didn't realize was yours. You raise a hand, and the air feels almost velvety. Somewhere distant, something rumbles. Not thunder, exactly more like a deep subwoofer being tested by the universe. You're greeted first by chaos. And no, not chaos like your kitchen drawer, filled with mismatched Tupperware lids chaos. The ancient being. You don't see a body. You don't see eyes. You see potential. A wide, yawning openness. A cosmic shrug that says, sure, anything could happen. And somehow that's more unsettling than any monster. Historians still argue whether chaos is a literal being or simply a poetic placeholder, for we have no idea what existed before anything else. Honestly, same. You step closer and the grayness shifts. Shapes ripple around you, like thoughts trying very hard to become matter. Here, mainstream myth says the universe began as an empty void, but one quirky fringe tidbit claims chaos wasn't empty at all. It was more like a soupy field of overlapping energies, and every god monster and element was already swirling inside it like ingredients waiting for the mixer to be turned on. You imagine primordial cookie dough. It's oddly comforting. A soft breeze, or what passes for a breeze in a place with no sky, brushes past you. You take the hint and keep walking. The grayness peels back, revealing another presence, one that feels like gravity, learning to speak. Gaia, the Earth Mother. Here, she rises not as a planet or a goddess wearing a leafy crown, but as a steady pulse beneath your feet, like a quiet heartbeat you somehow missed until just now. You feel warmth under your toes, a grounded certainty, as if the universe suddenly decided to give you a place to stand. Gaia doesn't talk, none of the primordials do boot. You understand her. She is the calm in the center of everything, the first shape that solidifies out of chaos. In mainstream myth, Gaia creates mountains, seas, and life. But you, here in this drifting moment, feel something more personal. She creates perspective. She whispers without whispering. Hey, stand here. Try this shape. Try being real. You take a breath. It's strangely stabilizing. But as you try to relax, something sharp and cold tickles your ankles. It's subtle at first, like the sensation of stepping into a puddle with socks on, just a little uncomfortable. The air cools, colors drain, the pulse beneath your feet pauses. You meet Tartarus. He doesn't leap out, he doesn't roar. He simply exists beneath Gaia, like the deepest basement level of reality. A chasm with personality, a pit with patience. A kind of cosmic, I'm not angry, I'm disappointed, energy fills the air. Tartarus is the destination for things the gods really want to deal with. Rebellious titans, unruly giants, and apparently that one kid in mythology who thought wrestling Zeus was a great hobby. A fun, odd tidbit. Some fringe traditions say Tartarus wasn't always a prison at first. He was a kind of primordial doorway, a corridor where broken pieces of reality slid off to recalibrate. Basically, the universe's recycle bin. You stand there, half tempted to drop in your old, embarrassing memories. But no, you keep moving. Historians still argue whether Tartarus was a literal underground realm or a symbolic representation of spiritual collapse. You look down at the inky darkness, stretching forever beneath you, and decide either way, you don't want to fall in, even though it does have that quiet, sleep-like silence. No, not tonight. You step away quickly enough that the cold fades from your skin. The grayness lightens again. Then comes the glitter-not sunlight, not stars, just shimmering movement. Eros appears. Not the winged matchmaking boy from Valentine's decorations, but a primordial force of attraction, so old and so vast it feels like it holds your atoms together. This version of Eros isn't about romance. He is about cohesion. the universe's urge to pull itself into form, instead of dissolving back into nothing. You feel a tiny tug at your chest, like your molecules are leaning toward meaning. It's soft, reassuring, almost sleepy. Eros glides around you without shape, but with intention, binding chaos, Gaia, and Tartarus into a functional universe. And yes, you resist the urge to ask him if he could also bind your sleep schedule together, because you already know the answer is no. As you walk, the echo of these beings fades, but you carry their imprint. Chaos, with its vast potential, Gaia, with her grounded reassurance, Tartarus, with his deep warning, Eros, with his quiet pull toward connection. Everything around you slowly shifts back toward a more familiar sort of myth-Olympian gossip is still ahead, waiting. But something in you has changed. You've met the foundations, the silent architects. You keep walking through the dim gray glow, each step steady and soft, the primordial echoes humming somewhere deep behind you, like the first lullaby the universe ever murmured. You leave the soft humming quiet of the primordials behind, but their presence clings to you, like a thin layer of stardust, or the way a dream refuses to fade even after you fully opened your eyes. Your path warms again, the dim grayness lifting into a gentler twilight glow. You feel the universe subtly shift gears. The cosmos straightens its metaphorical back, clears its throat, and gets ready for its next big phase. You step into a landscape that feels almost like a halfway point, no longer a raw, unfinished universe, but not yet the polished drama stage of the Olympian. You sense something building, condensing, preparing. If chaos was the blank canvas and Gaia the first brushstroke, what you re-walking toward now is the entire cosmic art class trying to express themselves at once. This is the first generation, titans and rulers, the era where everything gets a little too big, a little too ambitious, and extremely emotionally complicated. Basically, it's ancient Greek mythology's version of a startup that has suddenly hired 15 CEOs. The twilight deepens into a muted gold, and Gaia's quiet pulse returns under your feet, stronger now, more confident. But there's another beat layered beneath it, heavy, metallic, determined, in a way that makes you straighten your shoulders. That's Uranus, or Uranus, if you prefer the classical spelling. Gaia's partner, the sky, made into a person. He descends into the scene, not with thunder or fanfare, but with a slow sweep of shimmering blue-black overhead. You look up, and the sky feels closer than it should be, almost low enough to touch. You stretch your hand up instinctively. Don't worry. You won't actually bump your knuckles on the ancient god of the sky, though the thought does amuse you. Mainstream myth tells you that Gaia and Uranus together birthed the Titans, the Cyclopes, and the Hecatonkhyres. You hear soft thuds under the ground, distant thumps like massive hands tapping gently from inside a mountain. And even though this place is calm, the sound makes you slide 1 foot back, just in case something with 50 heads decides it wants to say hello. A quirky fringe tidbit. Some obscure traditions claim Uranus wasn't Gaia's partner at first, he was her reflection. A sky she dreamed into existence, and then accidentally fell in love with. The image of Earth flirting with her own mirror is adorable, and somehow still less weird than half the other things you've encountered so far. Historians still argue whether Uranus represents a real protodeity worshipped by early Greeks, or whether he was retroactively inserted into the mythology to fill a sky god gap. Basically, the celestial equivalent of plugging in a missing puzzle piece after the box has already been thrown away. Your path widens, the golden twilight brightens, and from that brightness steps the first titan you meet, Sionis, a vast presence, shaped like a river, given consciousness. His form ripples around the edges, shimmering with currents. You swear you hear distant waves, even though there's no water around. He gives you a slow, sleepy nod, the kind of nod someone gives when they accepted they will always be in charge of something too large to ever fully comprehend. You keep walking, and a softer, gentler glow approaches the Ea, tightness of sight and shimmering radiance. The light around her feels warm but controlled, like the glow of a candle you cup with your hands to keep the breeze from blowing it out. She moves with the calm confidence of someone who always knows exactly where she left her glasses. You sense more titans in the drifting twilight Hyperion, who feels like sunrise practicing its big debut. Kuz, whose presence makes your mind tick, like you've just remembered something important, but can quite place it. And Phoebe, whose silver radiance leaves a quiet trail of moondust in the air. The world around you expands to hold them all. And just when you start feeling comfortable, because yes, even in the presence of cosmic elders, you're starting to vibe, a new tension hums beneath everything. You follow that tension until you reach him, Cronus. He stands taller than the others, not because he's physically bigger, but because he feels heavier. Purpose coils around him, thick and cold. His gaze is sharp, suspicious, the kind of stare someone gives when they reconvinced everyone else planning something behind their back. And to be fair, myths suggest he might have had a point. Cronus is the Titan who overthrew his own father, Uranus. That metallic tension you felt earlier, it sharpens now, vibrating through the air like a plucked string. You notice the sky pulling back slightly, as if Uranus himself is bracing for something sharp. Then, without warning, the ground rumbles, not violently, just enough to make your knees soften. A sensation like a blade made of starlight slices through the horizon. You don't see Gaia hand Cronus the sickle, but you feel it, the mother, urging her child to correct a cosmic imbalance. The act unfolds in a blur of symbolism, more metaphor than violence, because this is a bedtime story after all. You let out a breath you didn't realize you were holding. A quiet, fringe rumor whispers at the edges of your hearing. Some ancient storytellers insisted Cronus didn't overthrow Uranus out of ambition, but out of desperation. He believed the universe would collapse unless someone broke the cycle of uncontrolled creation. You're not sure whether that makes him a hero or just a very stressed eldest sibling. Historians still argue whether the story is literal, symbolic, or a political myth crafted to justify new waves of leadership in early Greek societies. Honestly, the scholars sound as tense as Cronus looks. But whatever the truth, you now stand in the moment, after the sky has been pushed back, after power has shifted into new hands, after the young Titan has changed the cosmic script. Cronus rises taller, his shadow stretches long across the golden twilight, and you can feel the story tightening around you, preparing for the next ripple in this mythic chain. You take a slow breath, you keep walking. The age of the Titans has only just begun. You feel the twilight around you settle into something heavier like the air, realizing it now belongs to a new ruler. Cronus's presence lingers behind you, sharp-edged and watchful, even as you continue down the soft gold path unfurling beneath your feet. The atmosphere shifts into a richer, denser hue, almost the color of honey pressed between warm palms. It feels serene, but also a little too serene, the way an empty hallway feels when you know someone has recently walked through. Because this is the age of titanic rule and Cronus's grip, where everything looks calm only because the tension hasn't cracked yet. Your footsteps make the faintest sound, like tapping lightly on ancient marble. Somewhere above you floats the distant hum of a sky freed from Uranus's press, stretching itself out like a stiff limb finally released. The Titans have taken the universe's spotlight, and beneath their reign, the cosmos feels both organized and brittle, like pottery that hasn't been fired yet. Cronus stands at the center of this era, like a tall shadow cast at noonot, exactly threatening, but impossible to ignore. His rule is absolute, but you sense the irony that he's ruled mostly by fear. Specifically, the very inconvenient prophecy that he will eventually be overthrown by one of his own children. The universe does love its plot twists. You feel that prophecy humming in the background, like a distant drum someone's trying very hard to muffle. But before all that unfolds, you wander through a world shaped by Titans, vast, slow-moving presences, who mold creation like sculptors working in slow motion. To your left rises Mount Athres, their headquarters massive, ancient, and far less glamorous than Mount Olympus will later be. It's rougher, quieter, more grounded. You run your fingers along the stone, and it gives off a deep, reassuring warmth. Titans feel old-world practical, like people who build things with their hands and refuse to replace them even after they start making creaking noises. A mainstream historical fact slides into your mind as easily as a breeze. Ancient Greeks actually believed Titans represented the raw, foundational forces of the world-time memory, light, oceans, the natural cycles, not the refined personalities we see among the later Olympians. Titans were less, oh my gods drama, and more, please respect geologic formation timelines, a quirky, fringe tidbit. Some old Orphic traditions claim that during Cronus's golden reign, humans didn't need sleep at all, because time wasn't passing in a normal way. Cronus, being the embodiment of time, means that, apparently, he could set the universe's clock to airplane mode. Imagine no bedtime. Honestly, terrifying. Historians still argue whether the idea of a golden age under Cronus was meant literally or symbolically as a memory of pre-civilized society, or as pure poetic nostalgia for a simpler time that probably wasn't as peaceful as advertised. You look around at the gentle golden twilight and can't help thinking, yeah, this feels suspiciously idyllic. But then the tension returns. You hear soft shuddering under the earthlight, something knocking, but not in a friendly delivery package way. A rhythmic thump thump thump, quiet enough not to alarm you, but steady enough to remind you. Cronus didn't just overthrow his father, he also imprisoned some of his siblings, the Cyclopes, and the 100-handers deep within the earth. That distant thump, yeah, that's them. You glance down at the ground and say a silent, polite hello to the imprisoned giants. You consider offering snacks through the metaphysical floorboards, but you suspect they're holding out for something a bit more dramatic than a granola bar. Cronus's reign continues around you, and the path leads you through the slow-motion blossoming of creation. Oceans settling into their basins under Oceanus' eternal currents, time stretching into long, even threads, the sun and moon rising according to Hyperion and Thea's patient choreography. Everything has a rhythm, steady, predictable, too predictable. You sense anxiety blooming around Cronus like a prickly aura. It grows stronger when you walk into a dimmer corner of this golden world and notice Rhea, his sister and wife, sitting quietly near a stone altar. She has a softness to her, wrapped in the gentle weight of earth, growth, and motherhood. You feel warmth radiating from her presence, the kind of warmth that makes you think of fireplaces and soft blankets. But the warmth doesn't reach her eyes. She looks tired. You see why when, from the corner of your vision, shadows flicker, little shapes that should have been children, should have been playing, should have been growing, but instead vanish as quickly as they appear. Cronus, paranoid about the prophecy, swallows each newborn child whole the moment they emerge. A cosmic, not today, prophecy move. You wince. Even for bedtime storytelling. It's a heavy image, but you're comforted that myths often treated these acts symbolically, not literally. It's less eating babies, more absorbing potential before it threatens your stability. Still, not exactly top dad moments. A soft wind brushes against Rhea's cheek, and she straightens. You sense resolve tightening inside her. The moment is quiet, but powerful, like the pause before a chess player finally moves the piece that changes everything. You see the memory unfold, Rhea deciding that, when her next child arrives, she will not lose him. She will hide the infant, deceive Cronus, and set into motion a shift that will echo across all mythology. You haven't met that child yet, but his presence starts to flicker around the edges of the twilight, like a spark waiting for its cue. The golden air stirs, the ground hums, and Cronus's rule so heavy, so tense, so frightened feels like it's beginning to creak under its own weight. You continue along the path, your steps soft but steady, as the first hint of rebellion glimmers faintly in the distance. You feel the golden air around you thin, as if someone has gently exhaled and left the world waiting for whatever comes next. Cronus still looms behind you, tall, tense, Jittery in that cosmic eye definitely read my own horoscope today, and it was not good kind of way. But the path ahead brightens subtly. A soft, hopeful shimmer flickers at the edges of your vision. You follow it. The twilight begins to ripple like warm water disturbed by a gentle hand. Colors soften. The ground glows faintly. Everything feels lighter. As though UVA just stepped into the quiet space between a long-held breath and the relief that follows. Because now you enter the birth of Zeus, the hidden child, the moment the universe takes its first real step toward change. Rhea appears again, but this time her sorrow has thinned into something sharper, exhausted mother, carrying the weight of too many impossible choices. You watch her move through a dim grotto carved into a mountainside. Her breath trembles, her hands shake, but there's a fierce steadiness in her eyes, like embers waiting to flare. Behind her, Cronus's shadow creeps across the horizon, huge, jittery, suspicious, always listening. The prophecy that haunts him has wrapped his mind like thorned vines. You feel the paranoia radiating from him, a constant buzz that makes your shoulders tense. He's swallowed every child Rhea has borne, convinced that each one is the potential overthrower, a cosmic game of not it gone horribly wrong. But Rhea has had enough. A mainstream historical fact rises to the surface of your thoughts. Ancient Greeks often used this myth to explain the cyclical nature of generational power struggles, the passing of authority from one divine lineage to another. It wasn't just a story. It was philosophy disguised as drama. You walk closer as Rhea lowers herself onto a smooth stone bench, the grotto glowing softly around her. She whispers into the still air, not words you can hear, but words you somehow feel. Words of protection, words of defiance, words that tremble with both fear and love. Then, quietly, the universe shifts. A small cry echoes through the cavern high, raw, new. Zeus is born. You expect fanfare, lightning cracking dramatically. Maybe a baby doing a superhero landing. But no, it's just a soft cry in a hidden cave. And somehow that's more powerful. You feel the weight of it, a gentle pulse that rolls through the grotto like warm wind. Rhea holds him close, and for a moment the entire cosmos pauses, savoring the fragile beginning of a god who will someday shake the world. But the moment is brief. Cronus will come. So Rhea moves quickly. She wraps Zeus in soft cloth and hides him in a nook carved into the cave wall just long enough to perform the next part of her plan. She reaches for a smooth stone, swaddles it tightly, and holds it to her chest with trembling hands. The stone is warm, as though the earth itself is in on the conspiracy. A quirky fringe tidbit flickers through your mind. In some rare tradition, the stone Rhea used wasn't random. It was actually carved from a piece of the sky that Uranus shed during his fall, making it symbolically connected to the very prophecy Cronus feared. Drama level, unnecessarily poetic. Rhea steps out of the grotto and calls Cronus. He arrives in a sweeping blur of authority and suspicion. You feel the tension spike. Even the air seems to brace itself. Rhea forces calm into her expression as Cronus demands the newborn. She offers the swaddled stone without flinching. Cronus swallows it whole. You don't hear anything, but you feel a dull, heavy thud echo through the ground, a swallowed lie settling into a stomach already full of swallowed futures. Historians still argue whether the act of swallowing the children should be interpreted literally or symbolically. Was it about consuming potential, repressing future generations, or simply a mythic metaphor for cycles of inheritance? The debate gets heated enough that you imagine even the scholars need a nap afterward. Cronus walks away, satisfied for the moment. Rhea waits until his presence fades, then rushes back into the grotto. She lifts Zeus into her arms, her breath trembling with relief. You feel your own shoulders drop, mirroring hers. But Zeus cannot stay here. Rhea wraps him warmly and carries him into the night. You follow quietly as she moves through valleys glowing with faint starlight, the sky rolling open above her like a protective cloak. The journey feels long but gentle, each step cushioned by the soft hum of destiny doing its thing. At last, she reaches Mount Dict, or Mount Idadi, pending which myth you follow. But here the landscape is a blend of both. Rugged slopes, softened by moss, caves glowing with warm, golden fire, and quiet streams whispering secrets to the moon. She entrusts infant Zeus to the care of the curate's warriors, who will stomp, clap, and clash their shields to mask his cries from Cronus. You hear their rhythmic, almost dance-like, clattering echo through the mountains. It sounds like an ancient lullaby with a side of percussion practice. Nearby, the goat nymph Amalthea waits, soft and warm, ready to nurse the future king of gods. Her presence is calming, almost motherly, with a faint grassy scent that reminds you of safe childhood memories you can't quite place. Zeus coos, settling into his new world. The mountain hums protectively around him, and you realize a seed has been planted. A tiny spark, hidden high on a mountainside, will one day grow into the force that breaks the age of titans. The golden twilight flickers, the wind shifts, and far away, Cronus sleeps peacefully, unaware that his greatest fear has just slipped through his fingers. You leave the quiet cradle of Zeus's hidden infancy behind, though the soft echo of the Curate's shield clashing still rings faintly in your ears, like distant fireworks someone forgot to turn off. The golden twilight stretches again, melting into a deeper bronze as you follow the winding path that curves along the mountainside. You feel the air grow cooler, touched with the scent of pine, stone, and a hint of ozone. Destiny, it seems, has been practicing its dramatic timing, because now you're entering the era of Zeus's secret growing up, the slow, steady sharpening of a child who was never meant to stay in hiding. And honestly, he grows up fast. Not in a suddenly aging into a full adult overnight way that's another myth entirely, but in the sense that the world around him seems eager to shape him, mold him, prepare him. Every breeze feels like a whispered lesson, every shift of light a quiet encouragement. You sense the mountain itself watching over him, like an ancient tutor with infinite patience. You step into a clearing on the upper slopes of Mount Ida, where Zeus, still young, but no longer an infant, chases shadows between tall rocks. The curates dance nearby, their shield clashing, softened now, more rhythmic, almost playful. You hear the metallic pulse echo between the cliffs like a heartbeat. Zeus laughs, and the sound rolls across the mountainside, bright and crisp. You find yourself smiling in spite of everything. There's something endearing about watching the future king of gods trip over a pebble and then pretend he meant to do it. A mainstream historical fact slips into your mind. Many ancient Greek communities, especially in Crete, claimed Zeus was raised in their specific region. Entire local cults built their identity around this mythic upbringing. It wasn't just a story, it was cultural pride wrapped in divine childcare. You continue walking as Zeus scrambles up a rocky ledge where Amalthea waits for him. She's no ordinary goat nymph. Now time has wrapped her in a glow that feels equal parts maternal and mythic. Her warm breath fogs the cool air as she nudges Zeus gently, guiding him toward a cluster of glowing herbs. Zeus gathers them with surprising seriousness. Amalthea nudges him again, as if saying, "Yes, yes, good job. Now don't eat the poisonous ones." A quirky fringe tidbit bubbles up. Some obscure traditions claim Amalthea wasn't a goat, but a magical tree whose sap nourished Zeus, meaning the king of the gods might have been raised on organic forest juice, which honestly sounds on brand for the universe's most climate-conscious deity. Historians still argue whether Zeus's upbringing in a cave reflects real ancient rites, secret initiation rituals practiced by youths coming of age in mountain sanctuaries. Basically, scholars wondering if Zeus invented outdoor summer camp. Zeus continues growing, his limbs lengthening, his eyes sharpening with curiosity. You follow him through the crags and valleys of the mountain as he trains at first with playful energy, then with a growing sense of purpose. The curates teach him the art of combat, their movements precise, their discipline unwavering. You watch as young Zeus tries to imitate their shield patterns. His version is enthusiastic, much clanging, very determination. You almost flinch when he bonks himself in the shin, but he shakes it off with the stubborn pride of a future storm wielder. The air shifts again when you enter a deeper part of the mountain, where the shadows stretch tall and the cave ceilings glitter with luminous crystals. Zeus wanders here often, drawn by a curiosity too sharp to remain confined. You see him touching the crystals, watching their light bend around his fingers. Something charges faintly in the air, static, warm, expectant. He doesn't know it yet, but this place is teaching him something. The mountain's heartbeat syncs with his skin. Somewhere in the distance, a storm gathers, not outside, but within him. The first sparks of thunder. You feel it like a soft prickle along your arms. Zeus closes his eyes, sensing the power pulsing deep in the dark. A small rumble echoes, gentle questioning, like a puppy learning how to bark. You half expect the mountain to offer him a helmet and a liability waiver. He grows stronger daily, but strength isn't the only thing he learns. Wisdom curls its way into him slowly at first, then faster, like vines seeking sunlight. You see him watching the sky with a contemplative frown, sensing a world he's not yet part of, a world he's destined for. And he's not the only one preparing. On the outskirts of the mountains, shadowy forests, lives the Titaness Mythoscotus of clever thought, strategy, and the kind of intelligence that sees 6 steps ahead in cosmic chess. You spot her standing near a stream, watching Zeus train, a small, knowing smile tugging at her lips. She approaches him often, offering advice with a calm humor that Zeus doesn't yet understand is, well, a little bit dangerous. Metis is the mind behind revolution, the quiet architect of turning tides. She bends down one day, still taller than Zeus, even when kneeling, and whispers something into his ear. You don't hear the words, but you feel the meaning. There is a world that needs you. Zeus straightens. A new tension hums through the air, not the heavy dread of Cronus's reign, but the electric anticipation of change. A storm forming behind gentle eyes, a rebellion preparing itself, slowly, patiently. Zeus's training intensifies as the seasons turn. He leaps higher, swings harder, listens more sharply. His laughter fades into quiet confidence. His curiosity hardens into focus. Even Amalthea seems to sense the shift, her warm gaze following him with a softness tinged by worry. Eventually, Zeus climbs to the highest ridge of the mountain. You follow close behind as he stands at the edge, wind whipping through his now adolescent curls. Below, the world spreads wide, glimmering under a blanket of golden haze. Far beyond the horizon sits Cronus, ruling in tense stillness, unaware that his hidden child has taken his first true step toward destiny. Zeus exhales. Lightning flickers faintly at his fingertips, just a whisper, just enough to tell you the age of storms is coming. And as the wind grows colder, you know the world is almost ready to change hands. You drift onward, and the night around you feels thicker, as if the air itself wants to nudge you toward the next strange revelation. You're already half lulled, half curious, and that's the perfect place to be as you slip into the world of Dionysus, the god who somehow blends joy, chaos, theater, and philosophical crisis into one sleepy swirl. You ease forward, feeling the soft give of the world under your steps, like the ground is politely cushioning your journey. Maybe it's because Dionysus doesn't like sharp edges. He prefers everything a little blurry, a little warm, a little unpredictable. Honestly, he'd probably hand you a cup of wine right now, even though you trying to sleep. He means, well, he just doesn't understand bedtime. You move through a gentle haze. Dionysus has always been the odd one out among the Olympians. Historically, he's considered a late addition to the Greek pantheon, almost like someone who transferred schools halfway through the year and immediately became the most interesting kid in class. A mainstream historical fact floats through your mind. The Greeks believed that Dionysus brought wine to humanity, not just as a drink, but as a spiritual experience, something that could loosen the rigid walls people built around themselves. You can't help smirking. If he tried that today, someone would absolutely start a TikTok challenge about it. As you walk, the landscape shifts again. Vines crawl lazily up the edges of your mind, like they're trying to decorate your thoughts. Dionysus's world feels different from the storm-crashing domains of Zeus, or the strategy-thick halls of Athena. This place is soft, humid, alive, the kind of environment where your hair frizzes instantly. But you don't complain because the air smells like ripe grapes and nighttime festival. Somewhere off to the side, you think you spot a satyr dancing like he's never once considered the existence of joint pain. Good for him. You wander deeper into a place that feels half forest, half dream, and the ground beneath your feet becomes springy, like moss, soaked just enough to feel cool, but not enough to ruin your socks. This is where Dionysus teaches you his strange, almost contradictory rhythm: freedom through surrender, clarity through chaos, calm through letting go. You sense the god nearby, not towering like Zeus, not armored like Ares, not poised like Apollo. Dionysus just lounges. He looks at you with a relaxed grin, and you feel a little judged, but also a little seen. He has that energy of a friend who tells you you need to chill, and annoyingly, he's right. A quirky detail slips into your path. In some ancient accounts, Dionysus was raised by nymphs who hid him in a cave filled with magical plants to protect him from Hera. Some say he was dressed as a girl to keep him hidden. Others insist he was turned into a goat. And yet another version claims his caretakers dunked him in warm honey so he wouldn't cry. You pause for a moment. Being disguised, turned into a goat, or honey-marinated, none of this screams normal childhood. If modern parenting books suggested this, someone would start a petition. You breathe out slowly. The movement stirs the vines around you, and you hear faint bells, maybe from worshippers somewhere beyond your vision. Ancient Greeks had entire festivals devoted to Dionysus, and not the calm, bring-your-own-blanket type. These were loud, wild, emotionally cathartic celebrations, where people danced until their worries dissolved into the night. Historians still argue whether these festivals were genuinely religious experiences, or just socially sanctioned opportunities to behave like college freshmen on spring break. Either way, people clearly needed the break, and honestly, you get it. You step past a tree whose bark seems to pulse gently, like it's keeping time with the music in the distance. Dionysus isn't just about wine, he's about theater, illusion, masks, stories. The first actors performed in his honor, stepping onto rudimentary stages to pretend they were kings or fools or gods. You picture ancient villagers watching a performance by torchlight, half believing the actors were channeling divine energy. You imagine someone in the crowd whispering, "That's totally just Demetrios from the olive market," but staying quiet because the ritual demanded suspension of disbelief. You brush past another curtain of vines, and you feel the story wrapping around you. Dionysus leans in, not literally, but in that subconscious way where you can feel a presence even when nothing visible moves. He invites you to think about all the times humans cling too tightly to control. The Greeks used Dionysus as a reminder that sometimes you need to loosen your grip before your mind snaps like a dry branch. You can almost hear him mutter something like, "Relax your shoulders," which is annoyingly helpful, so you do. A soft breeze curls around you, carrying a fringe tidbit. Some ancient sources claimed that Dionysus could appear in multiple forms, at once young and old, male and feminine, mortal-looking and godlike. He's like the original master of aesthetic rebranding. If Instagram existed back then, his feed would be pure chaos, but somehow still iconic. You move forward, and the world gets sleepier. As though Dionysus is dimming the lights for you, not for show, not for drama, but simply because he knows you're ready to drift. The music fades into a low hum. The vines draw back slightly, making a small, quiet pathway. Even the satyrs seem to dance a little slower, as if respecting the moment. You notice how warm the air feels now, almost like a blanket you didn't realize you needed. Your mind softens around the edges. Dionysus's realm doesn't lull you with order. It soothes you with surrender, with the idea that rest isn't something you earn, it's something you allow. And as you drift further, he nods in approval, a lazy, gentle gesture that tells you you're doing just fine. The path ahead glows faintly, guiding you toward the next god, waiting quietly in the dark. You follow that faint glow ahead, letting it pull you from Dionysus's warm, swaying twilight into something sharper, colder, and far more deliberate. The vines loosen their sleepy grip as the forest thins, and the air shifts from humid sweetness to something clearer, almost metallic. You breathe in, and the change wakes up a small part of your mind, just enough to help you step forward without drifting entirely into dreams. You can sense who waits for you next before you see anything at all. There's a certain tension, a certain precision in the space. It feels like someone is mentally correcting your posture right now. You've wandered straight into the quiet gravity of Athena, goddess of wisdom, strategy, crafts, and the kind of calm intelligence that makes everyone else feel like they forgot their homework. You move through the cooling air, hearing nothing but your own soft footsteps. It's a welcome break from Dionysus's chaotic orchestra, though you almost miss the satyr's enthusiastic, if questionable, dance moves. Almost, the ground beneath you becomes smoother, like polished stone, and the surroundings shift into a wide, open expanse lit by a gentle, silvery glow. You don't see Athena yet, but you feel her an alert presence, steady as a lighthouse. A mainstream historical fact drifts into your thoughts. The ancient Greeks believed Athens was named after her, because she gifted the city an olive tree, symbolizing peace, prosperity, and ongoing development. Poseidon offered a dramatic saltwater fountain, which honestly feels like the ancient equivalent of giving someone a Bluetooth speaker instead of something genuinely useful. And the Athenians chose correctly, because have you ever used saltwater for anything practical? Exactly. You walk into a space where the air vibrates with quiet intelligence. The atmosphere has the same energy as a library at 2 a.m. during finals week's Arius. Intense, but oddly comforting. Everything here encourages clarity, like Athena is softly tapping the edges of your mind with a feather, coaxing you to think, to notice, to breathe with purpose. There's a hint of olive scent, too fresh, sharp, grounding. A subtle figure appears ahead, not stepping forward, but simply being there, as though she materialized from the very air. Athena doesn't look like she's trying to be intimidating, yet she effortlessly is. There's an ease in her stance, a quiet confidence that radiates the energy of "I know the answer, but I want you to figure it out yourself." You sense her studying you, not critically, just thoughtfully, like she is taking inventory of your strengths and weaknesses with the precision of someone who genuinely cares. You step closer, and something settles around you, an almost soothing discipline, the kind that helps your shoulders drop but keeps your spine straight. Athena's presence is both calming and sharpening, like that one teacher who never raised their voice but somehow controlled the entire room. You can help thinking she'd be phenomenal at managing group projects. No one would dare slack off. A quirky tidbit slides into your thoughts. According to some lesser-known myths, Athena was such a perfectionist that she once invented the flute, tried it out, saw her face distort in the reflection of water, and immediately threw the instrument away because she refused to look silly. Imagine being so committed to personal branding that you abandon an entire musical instrument because it doesn't flatter you. Honestly, mood. The soft glow around you brightens, slightly illuminating patterns carved into the smooth ground spirals, arrows, gentle geometric lines. They shift when you blink, as if rearranging themselves into strategic diagrams only Athena fully understands. You feel your own thoughts aligning without effort, like she's quietly rearranging a messy desk inside your head. Yet even in this clarity, the world stays sleepy. Athena doesn't rattle your senses, she steadies them. You can hear your own breathing blend with the quiet hum of the space, and with each step, your mind feels a little lighter, a little more open. Maybe this is why the Greeks associated her with wisdom, rather than brute force intelligence. It's not about knowing everything, It's about noticing what matters. A soft breeze passes, carrying the faintest echo of scholarly debate. Historians still argue whether Athena was originally a pre-Greek deity absorbed into the Olympian system, or if she evolved entirely within early Greek culture. Her symbols, olive branches, armor appear in different regional forms, each influencing her myth. You imagine Athena listening to these arguments with the same expression she is giving you now. Patient amusement mixed with "I could explain this, but I'm enjoying watching you try." You continue walking, and the space subtly reshapes around you into something almost like a workshop. Not a chaotic one. This isn't Hephaestus's forge, but a quiet, organized space full of half-finished ideas. Threads shimmer in the air like invisible tapestries. You can almost touch them, and when you brush your fingers near one, it vibrates softly, humming with possibility. Athena gestures, not with her hands, but with her presence, and you sense she is inviting you to consider the paths you reweaving in your own life. There's something comforting about how she offers guidance without demand. She doesn't shove wisdom at you like an infomercial. She just stands there, steady and open, allowing the silence to do most of the work. You sense she prefers thinkers over followers, and she likes when your thoughts slow enough to become clear. A faint nighttime hush settles over the space, as though the whole world is respecting the contemplative mood. Even the air seems to soften, drifting around you in calm spirals. You follow the subtle pull forward, and Athena doesn't vanish. She simply becomes part of the background, like a steady hand resting lightly on your shoulder. Your thoughts ease into that warm, foggy place between awareness and sleep, but they stay organized, tidy, aligned, like she neatly arranged them for you before letting you drift onward. The path stretches ahead, waiting gently, and you step toward it without hesitation, held in the quiet intelligence of the goddess who watches from the shadows with a soft, approving glow. You take another slow step, and Athena's calm, silvery presence fades behind you like a lantern dimming in fog. The path ahead warms, again not chaotic like Dionysus's world, not sharp like Athena's. This warmth is steady, grounded, almost like stepping into a kitchen where someone's been baking bread for hours. You breathe in, and the air feels thick with hearth smoke, earth, grain, home. Not the dramatic kind of home that demands attention, just the quiet kind that waits for you, no matter how late you wander in. You drift deeper into the glow, and soon the space opens into something wide and golden. Fields stretch around you, soft, waving wheat that glimmers like starlight caught in every stalk. There's no wind, yet the plants sway gently as if they're breathing. You feel your shoulders drop, your steps slow. The world grows hushed, blanketed in a serene, rural stillness. You've reached the domain of Demeter, goddess of agriculture, seasons, and the type of maternal energy that always has snacks in her bag just in case. You sense her presence before you see her, a warm, grounding pull, like someone smoothing the edges of your thoughts. A mainstream historical fact drifts into place. The ancient Greeks believed Demeter taught humanity how to grow crops, transforming early hunters and gatherers into organized communities capable of farming, storing grain, and building long-lasting civilizations. Without her, cities would never have risen, and future you would have nothing to complain about while stuck in traffic. Soft, golden dust swirls around your ankles as you walk. The wheat brushes your hands, leaving faint tickles on your fingers. It's all so gentle that you almost laugh. This might be the first godly realm that doesn't feel like it wants to test you. No lightning, no illusions, no ritual party horns, just a vast, sleepy field stretching into the night like an ocean that learned to whisper. Yet beneath this softness lies something heavy, emotional, and oddly human. Stories of Demeter are woven with grief, resilience, and a mother's stubborn loyalty. The ground here carries that weight in its soil. You can almost feel it in your footsteps, sinking a little deeper than the last, like the earth wants to hold you close. A figure forms in the distance, not with Athena's precision, but with a slow, warm unfolding. Demeter looks like the kind of person who notices when you have tea eaten and silently hands you bread. Her presence is comforting and steady, the type that makes you forget whatever you were stressed about 5 minutes ago. She watches you approach with soft eyes, the color of sun-warmed grain. A quirky tidbit floats up one of those strange details you can unhear. Some ancient myths say Demeter once disguised herself as an old woman and worked as a nanny, caring for the infant son of a mortal queen. She loved the child so much, she tried to make him immortal by placing him in a magical fire every night, like a divine toaster oven. The parents freaked out, as you would, and she had to explain she wasn't harming him, just upgrading his firmware. Basically, ancient myths really said, "No, trust me, it's fine," and expected audiences to nod politely. You walk closer, and Demeter doesn't greet you with words, just a slow, patient warmth, like she's known you for a long time and is glad you're finally resting. The field around her glows brighter, and you can feel the heartbeat of the land beneath your feet, a soft pulse that syncs with your breath. Everything here moves with intention, with cycles, with steady rhythms. It's easy to understand why the Greeks linked her to the seasons, especially the long winter of her sorrow. She lifts a hand, and the wheat around you responds instantly, shifting colors from gold to shadowy brown, then to pale green, then back to gold again. The entire field cycles through seasons in a single breath. It's mesmerizing, almost hypnotic. You feel the cooler air of autumn brush your skin, then the quiet hush of winter settling like soft snow, then the fresh, earthy scent of spring. It's dreamlike, but anchored in something deeply human: change. Historians still argue whether Demeter's worship predates the Olympian system entirely. Some scholars believe she began as a prehistoric grain deity, one of the earliest goddesses shaped by agricultural cultures, long before Greek religion developed. Others argue she evolved over time, absorbing local harvest rituals into a single divine figure. You can almost imagine Demeter listening to these debates with the patience of someone who has been around longer than anyone can track. As you continue walking, the ground becomes even softer, pillowy warm, almost like walking on freshly turned soil. And here, in this sleep-drenched stillness, something shifts. You feel a tug, a pull from the earth itself. The story of Persephone hums under everything, subtle but unavoidable, not dramatic, not scary, just an echo of a mother's deep yearning. The wheat around you dips slightly, bowing, as if acknowledging the ache woven into the land. Yet Demeter doesn't overwhelm you with sadness. Instead, she lets you feel the balance: love and loss, seasons and cycles, growth and rest. This is what she governs, not just grain, but renewal. She knows you're tired, not just tonight, but in ways that stretch behind you like long fields of their own. And she seems to tell you, without speaking, that rest is not a luxury. It's part of the cycle. It's how things grow. You take another step, and the wheat parts smoothly, opening a gentle path ahead. Behind you, Demeter fades, like sunlight slipping behind clouds, warm to the last moment. You feel her blessing in your footsteps, kind of quiet assurance that even when things fall apart, something new is always waiting its turn to grow. The field slowly darkens around you, welcoming you deeper into the night as another presence, one colder, quieter, and far more shadowed, begins to stir just ahead. The warm gold of Demeter's fields fades behind you like a sunset, slipping beneath the edge of the world. The soft earth firms under your feet, cooling with every step. You sense it before you see anything, the temperature dropping, the air becoming still, the darkness ahead gathering in a way that feels intentional, not threatening, not malicious, just quiet. The kind of quiet that has weight. The kind that makes you lower your voice, even when no one told you to. You're stepping into a realm carved from shadow, and silence the territory of Hades, Lord of the Underworld. And no, not the villainous cartoon version with blue fire hair. The real mythological Hades is far more nuanced, far more patient, and disturbingly calm. He rules the dead, yes, but he does it with the steady efficiency of someone who organizes a giant filing cabinet of souls and never misplaces a single document. If you ever needed a god to take over your inbox, he's the one. As you move farther, the path begins sloping gently downward. The walls narrow slightly, forming smooth stone corridors that glow with the faintest silver veins, like moonlight trapped underground. A whispering coolness curls around your ankles, not unfriendly, more like a draft in an ancient library. The sound here is muted, softened by layers of earth. Even your footsteps seem hesitant, as though the ground is respectfully swallowing their echo. A mainstream historical fact clicks into place. Ancient Greeks didn't see Hades as evil. He wasn't the tormentor of souls. That job belonged to other underworld spirits and judges. Hades was simply the ruler of a necessary realm, managing the natural cycle of life and death. He was feared, yes, but mostly in the way people fear filing taxes. Unavoidable, serious, and absolutely not something you joke about loudly in public. You continue downward, and the silence becomes almost peaceful. The air tastes cool and mineral-rich, like damp stone. Somewhere in the distance, you think you hear water dripping, a slow, rhythmic sound that somehow syncs with your heartbeat. It lulls you, easing you deeper into the calm underworld twilight. A figure appears ahead, not emerging dramatically, just existing, the way heavy mountains exist without explanation. Hades stands still, his presence quiet but immense. He isn't adorned in flashy armor or glowing light. He simply watches, steady and unreadable, with the calm focus of someone who has seen everything, judged nothing too quickly, and understands far more than he explains. You step closer, and his realm expands around you, a subtle shift, like a curtain being pulled aside. Past the corridor lies a vast, dim landscape, glowing with soft ghost light. The ground is smooth, the air still, the atmosphere strangely comforting. This isn't a nightmare world. It's serene, organized, and eternally unhurried. A quirky tidbit slips into your mind. Some ancient Greeks avoided using Hades' name entirely, fearing it would draw his attention. Instead, they gave him euphemistic nicknames, like the Wealthy One, referring to the riches below the earth, minerals, gems, fertile soil. So basically, he was the original he-who-must-not-be-tagged. Double quotes. If he were alive today, people would probably refer to him as that guy downstairs in group chats, just to be safe. Hades watches you with patient interest, the way a cat watches a small bug, quiet, observant, not planning anything sinister, but absolutely analyzing your entire existence. Yet there's no hostility, just the weight of inevitability, softened into acceptance. You sense his realm isn't meant to frighten, it's meant to balance. Everything that lives must someday rest, and he simply keeps the place tidy. You walk beside a river you hadn't noticed, forming the faint, gliding shimmer of the Styx. It isn't a raging torrent, it's calm, reflective, maybe even beautiful if you let yourself look long enough. Tiny motes of pale light drift above the water, like fireflies caught in a dream. You feel the hush deepen around you, pulling your thoughts into quieter shapes. Historians still argue whether the Greeks believed the underworld was physically beneath the earth, or existed in a supernatural space outside normal geography. Some texts describe cave entrances as portals, others speak of spiritual boundaries. It's the kind of debate that would absolutely send Athena into a patient sigh. Hades, on the other hand, would probably shrug. His realm exists because it must. Location optional. As you move along the dim riverbank, a soft breeze brushes past you, carrying faint echoes, voices that feel like memories rather than sounds. Nothing frightening, nothing sharp, just a reminder of how vast and ancient this place is. Souls drift like faint silhouettes in the distance, peaceful, wandering without weight. You realize the underworld, in this form, is less a prison and more a great resting hall where time slows into something kind, something forgiving. Hades stands beside you now, close enough that you can feel the gravity of him, steady and grounding. There's no judgment in his gaze, only clarity. He doesn't offer illusions, distractions, or comforting lies. He offers truth, wrapped in quiet inevitability. and somehow that's restful. You feel something surprising. Safety, not the bright warmth of Demeter or the strategic calm of Athena. This safety is darker, quieter, rooted in acceptance rather than encouragement. A reminder that everything ends and that endings don't have to be feared. The air grows softer, thicker, with a sleepy fog. Even your thoughts begin to dim around the edges. Hades doesn't stop you from drifting. If anything, he watches with a faint nod, as though approving your slow surrender to rest. Maybe he knows better than any god that stillness is a kind of peace. Then, just as you begin sinking fully into the underworld calm, you notice a faint shimmer in the darkness ahead, a light that's not silver, not gold, but something warm and familiar. Someone else is waiting, someone who carries fire. The path eases upward again, a slow ascent, as Hades fades behind you with the dignity of a closed door. The last shadows slip from your shoulders as you move toward the next presence. You follow the faint shimmer ahead, leaving Hades' soft-shadowed calm behind you. The air warms with each step, not in a harsh or sudden way, but slowly like someone nudging a dimmer switch upward. The darkness loosens, thinning into a reddish gold glow that breathes like a sleeping ember. Your feet land on firmer stone, warmer now, humming faintly under your soles, as though something ancient stirs beneath the surface. The path widens, opening into a cavern lit by molten lines that crawl across the walls like veins of liquid fire. They pulse gently, soft enough not to startle you, rhythmic enough to soothe. There's a cozy heaviness in the air, that perfect middle ground between heat and comfort, like standing near a forge on a cold evening, letting warmth settle into your bones without burning them. You exhale, and the cavern seems to sigh back. You've stepped into the domain of Hephaestus, god of fire, metalwork, forging, and the quiet resilience of things made by hand. No divine glamour here, no dramatic thunder or illusions, just raw craft, patient fire, and the steady presence of someone who understands the beauty of persistence. A mainstream historical fact drifts up. Ancient Greeks believed Hephaestus crafted nearly all the divine weapons and tools used by the gods, from Achilles' armor to Hermes' winged sandals. He wasn't flashy, but he was essential, the behind-the-scenes builder who kept Olympus functioning. If the gods were a modern workplace, Hephaestus would be it: engineering, maintenance, logistics, and probably HR on weekends. You step deeper into the warm cavern, and shapes come into view: massive anvil, cooled metal form, intricate armor pieces hanging like quiet constellations. But everything is arranged neatly, intentionally. This isn't the chaotic workshop stereotype. This is a forge maintained by someone who works with care, precision, and a surprising amount of emotional depth. A quirky tidbit floats in. Some versions of the myths say Hephaestus once created golden mechanical servants, animated metal women with minds of their own to help him around the workshop. Congratulations, you've just found the earliest recorded instance of someone making AI assistants, because cleaning up after yourself is overrated. Even thousands of years ago, engineers said, I could do this task myself. But what if I made a robot? You feel a shift in the air before you see him. Hephaestus steps into view, not grand, not imposing, just solid, grounded. His presence like the slow thrum of a mountain's heart. He carries no arrogance, none of the theatrical energy of the flashier gods. Instead, he radiates the quiet confidence of someone who has been underestimated his entire life and turned that into fuel. He watches you with thoughtful eyes, as though he is assessing not your strength or status, but your potential, the things you still shaping inside yourself. Hephaestus values process over perfection. He sees you not as a finished piece, but as molten metal, still forming, still glowing, still capable of being shaped into something lasting. You walk past him, deeper into the forge, and the cavern brightens not into harsh flame, but into the soft flicker of firelight dancing across metal. Sparks shimmer lazily upward from an invisible source, drifting like tiny fireflies before dissolving into the warm air. The heat here doesn't push you away, it draws you closer. Historians still argue whether Hephaestus' limpa, recurring feature in his myths, symbolized a pre-Olympian tradition of smith gods, or was added later as a moral or symbolic detail. Some say he was thrown from Olympus as a baby. Others argue he intentionally distanced himself from the other gods. Whatever the truth, Hephaestus stands apart from the Olympian drama, not in weakness, but in depth. He feels like the most human of the gods, flawed, resilient, hard-working, and quietly proud of what he creates. You notice a small, glowing pool of molten metal at the cavern's center. Its surface is impossibly smooth, reflecting the firelight in slow waves. When you look into it, you see not your face, but your efforts, your struggles, your persistence, your progress. It's like Hephaestus is showing you your own forge, the one inside your chest, where all your experiences melt, mix, and shape you. You stand there longer than you expect, lulled by the warm glow, the gentle pulse of the cavern, the steady heartbeat of creation all around you. The warmth thickens, softens, smoothing the edges of your thoughts until everything slows into a peaceful haze. Hephaestus steps back, giving you space, not out of distance, but out of respect. He knows when to work, and he knows when to let things cool. The glow deepens, turning the cavern into a warm cocoon, and the entire world seems to exhale. The fire dims, not extinguished, just settling into embers, and you feel yourself settling, too, sinking into a calm so deep it feels forged just for you. You take one last, slow breath of the warm, ember-lit air, and then the forge begins to fade, softening into darkness. Not the cold darkness of Hades, but a warm, velvety kind that wraps around you like a heavy blanket. The warmth lingers just enough to hold you steady as the final imagery blurs into gentle shadow. And now you simply drift. Everything melts now into a softer, quieter stillness. The heat of the forge slips into a gentle, lingering warmth that settles along your shoulders, loosening any last bits of tension. The edges of the world blur into something slow and velvety, like twilight stretching across a calm horizon. You feel the weight of the day drifting farther and farther away, each moment dissolving into the warm hush around you. Sweet dreams.